When I first met the woman I was to fall in love with and be with for 26 years until last year, she said, like after we had been together a couple of weeks, she said, look, I don't know how this is all going to play out between us, but I want to say this up front. Wherever you're going in your life, wherever you're going, I want to go there too. Right? And it doesn't make a difference if we go there as lovers or if we go there as friends. I want to go where you're going. And what she meant, and I knew exactly what she meant, one of the things that brought us together so deeply was our love of the spiritual path. And was our love of the teachings and the walking of the teachings. And she so loved the way in which spirituality and living it and walking it was so important and intricate to my life. She wanted to move in that direction and in that vibration as well. So I'm going to fast forward. And anyway, we ended up walking together for 26 years. And these teachings and spirit became the central force of our life. It was the vibration upon which our entire relationship resonated. So I'm going to fast forward. We had 26 fabulous years. Last October the 7th, I did not know that her body was going to depart on that day, but I knew it would be close. And that morning, an interesting thing happened. I, who had always felt her and loved her as an individual, as a woman who I could see and hold and embrace, she was in the hospice bed. That morning, I was home. It was the first morning that I had taken off and knew I needed to be home that night and that morning. But that was the first morning that I felt that her energy wasn't somewhere in a hospice in a bed like I used to feel her energy on a different floor in our house. Her energy suddenly, to my great astonishment, was everywhere. I felt her presence throughout the entire 3-story townhouse that we've been living in for all these years. And I felt her energy move through me. I didn't have words for it because I'd never experienced it before. But what I experienced was the energy of this woman that I'd been in love with. The light, the illumination, the lightness, the joy, everything she was to me, I felt as an energy moving through me, and out of my mouth came these words, wherever you're going, wherever it is you're going, I want to go there too. We'd come full circle. It was as if I had, for a quarter of a century, been lead consciousness in bringing all these teachings with me and with her and with us. And now I absolutely knew that wherever she was going, she was in a place that was no longer embodied, no longer stuck in a body. But it was still her, because you can feel her. I got to tell you right now, first of all, this is an aside. We're going to talk about it later. But don't let the conversation go between you and your loved ones just because their soul leaves their body. That would be silly. We are souls that are embodied in form. But when we make that separation and the body departs, the body is over, the body part is complete, the soul is now free. So they are still who they are energetically, and you are now in touch with them differently. Now the head's going to say, well, that's just not possible at all. But we're not listening to the thoughts in the head, because the thoughts in the head don't know what reality is. Our thoughts in our head are simply designed to go into the catalog of past experiences, collect them, and predict the future based on past experience. That's the thoughts in our head. That's the mental chatter. Past tense, future tense. The present, for the present, we've got to be in the moment And we've got to be able to feel the moment, and then we can feel the presence of our own self, of our own life. And I felt the energy that was this woman, unmistakably her energy. And I said, I want to go where you're going. And I meant it not as a giggle or a laugh. Wouldn't that be fun? I meant that statement as a vow. I was never more serious in my life about anything in that moment, because when I felt the energy, that was this woman outside of her body. That was the only difference. She's a woman I knew for a quarter of a century, and now she wasn't in her body, but energetically, the woman that I love, the energy that I love, the light that I love. Is she her personality? Of course not. We're only our personality when the soul comes in partnership with the body. Then we're this delightful personality with a social security number, 5 pounds overweight, a butt we don't like as much as we did when we were in our 20s. All those things that make our personality up. But the energetics of who she was before she took the body, before we take our body, before we come into partnership and collaboration, that was still there. And that energy was something I did not have words for. And I did not know when I said, wherever you're going, I want to go there. I did not even know what that meant. I did not even know what I was agreeing to, But that feeling was so entirely awesome. It was an awesomeness that I felt beyond anything I had ever felt in my life on a spiritual path since I was young. My first consciousness understanding began at 12, and I had never felt anything like this in my life ever. I was feeling her before her body. I was feeling love itself. I was feeling the love that I had always had for her everywhere, and I was feeling the love that I had for everything in the presence of this love that was no longer shrunk into a body. And why is that important? Because the journey that has taken me on, this is a year now, and I've been on that journey with all the assiduousness that I've ever been on that journey. That journey took me to a place I didn't expect it to be taking me to. I expected maybe, I'll learn about exotic, erotic things, and I'll be taken into higher dimensions and realms, and I'll be seeing angelic beings, and you know what you think. You don't know what it means when you say, I want to go higher, even though our nature, unlike all other creation, we dream of going higher. We feel the potential of what that is. We might not be able to achieve it because the world in its gravitational pull pulls us down. But there's something inside of us, and we all in these rooms know what it is. It is that nature, that energetic nature that is part of who we are, that is the essence of who we are, that is always rising us up. I thought it would make me a person who was just so well understanding of the spiritual truths, and it would take me on wild journeys. And I gotta tell you, nothing surprised me more than where it took me. And I'll tell you this story. Buddha, this is as the legend goes. Who knows if any of these old stories are true, but they're good stories, and I love to tell them. And I love to walk them. So Buddha is walking through a forest one day, and coming from the other side of the forest is this man with this really rugged reputation. His name is, according to the story, Uofl, and Uofl is a murderer, right? In that life at that time, he was a murderer. And he was so into harming other people, so into it, that he wore a necklace of the fingers of the people that he had killed. That's somebody who's really into his craft, right? He wants everybody to know. And when Buddha and him met each other and crossed paths in the forest, And by the way, Aguilera was on his way that very morning, hunting down the next person to get a finger to put on his necklace, and it turned out to be it was his mother's house he was heading to. He was heading to go do harm to his mother. He bumps into Buddha on that morning, and Buddha looks at him and says this simple thing. He says, the difference between you and I is that I have stopped, and you have not stopped. And it seems like a simple thing. But what I learned when I asked and said, I want to go wherever you're going, where I was taken to was not some far away fairy tale place. I was taken directly into the center of the present moment. And every single day since then, I have been pointed to the present moment as the place where life exists, as the place where energy lives, as the place where light and illumination is sourced from. Every single road, every path, every instruction has led me back to the word stop. And when you stop, you're right where you are. You stop, and you find yourself right where your feet are. If anybody knows Madden Shoes, Steve Madden Shoes, they're so popular, oh my God. He had a marketing campaign in New York when I was living there, and it said, be where your feet are. Right? It was a great marketing campaign, be where your feet are. The feet are the key that will always remind us wherever we are, whatever is going on, no matter how dark, wherever our feet are our guide back to where everything you're needing in the moment, whatever you are needing, everything in the moment is right where your feet are. You're already in the place poised to receive everything you need. But here's the thing. Our feet might be here in the moment, but the rest of us isn't. Our head is somewhere else. You notice that? And we're thinking about all the different problems we have in the next moment and the regrets in the last moment. I was entering into a year where everybody in the entire world would have said, you know, hold on, because when you lose the person you love most in the world, you better hold on, you better buckle up for safety, because it is going to be a year of sorrow and grieving, if not multiple years of sorrow and grieving that are just going to shatter you. And of course, I imagine the same thing would be said for me. And what I discovered was that everything that life was showing me, everything that this energy that is all energy, this light that is connected to all light, everything it kept pointing me to was to be in this moment where my feet are. And you know what presence is? Presence is when you're present in the moment, you know you're present in the moment. I can be present in the moment. I was in my bathroom this morning getting ready in front of the vanity. And I realized it was as if I woke up out of wherever my thinking mind was taking me, and I realized I had not even seen myself in the mirror all morning. I have mirrors all over my house and altars all over my house. I realized I had never once looked in the mirror and said today, good morning. And we think, well, who says good morning? What I'm being invited to understand is we're supposed to say good morning. To who? To us. And we don't. We get up and we get into the tunnel of our day, and we're in the momentum of our day. You got to deal with this and do that, make your coffee, do your thing, and what about that problem? What about this issue? Take the car in, shave your legs, dye your hair, write that letter, send that text, do that thing, hate that person you forgot that you hated since yesterday. Now you remember, I still hate them today. And then while you're at it, you get in a little thing, you throw Trump in there, you throw your third grade teacher in there, and now you're on a roll, you're in a momentum of your day, thinking, this is my day, these are my problems, and I have to fix them. I have to force things to be the way I need them to be. I have to figure out how to make it work, or I'll just fantasize about how I want it to be. I used to be everywhere, but in the present moment. And I was shown something I did not know, that happily ever after is not a fairy tale. Happily ever after is one of the definitions, by the way, of liberation. One of the definitions of liberation, which you're not going to believe, it says that liberation is where you are actually experiencing happiness moment to moment. And we say, what? You don't know my mother-in-law, right? You don't know my ex-lover. You don't know my kid. You don't know my boss. You don't know my neighbor, right? We think happily ever after is when we make the entirety of the world around us to our liking. Exactly to our liking. And that they will never come. That's the fairy tale. The reality is, every single arrow pointed me to the moment. I got to read you something. When we had a ceremony for my one true love, Carol, and her friends came in, her deepest, truest friends came in, and we had a number of ceremonies honoring this time, because to go through a moment where you depart from your body might be, for the humans witnessing it in their thinking mind, a horror, but to the soul's having a completely different experience of the moment, and here's why. Because part of your soul has already left your body, and who do you think is coaching your body, is guiding your body, is loving your body as you make that transition? Hear this, you don't ever have to worry about the thought, the crazy thought, because we have 100 thoughts about death and dying and the end of times, and they're all wrong. They're all wrong. The only truth that we can know is what we're experiencing in the moment. And the entire time that Carol was leaving, the essence of her leaving her body and moving out to the upper right-hand side of the room, her eyes that weren't focused on anything were focused on her own energy, watching her own energy, not taking her eyes off that light that that was departing from her body. We are invited to be just like that. We are invited to take our bodies and turn to the light, turn to the source, turn to where our help is, and not turn away. Not turn away. And we say, yeah, but my thoughts, I have so many thoughts, and not turn away. So you have your thoughts, you come back into the moment. And in the moment, you plant yourself right where life is, right where God is, right where presence is, right where flow is. So in this ceremony we had for her, an interesting thing happened. I asked our goddaughter, we have a goddaughter who's now 21, 22, and I asked her if she would just easily and gently take notes through the ceremony if there was anything that Carol was saying, because she was very lucid for this ceremony, and I asked her to capture the words. Now, I don't remember. We were so deeply in the moment, I couldn't recite to you what she had said, but when my our goddaughter sent me the notes of what had come out of Carol's mouth during the ceremony, and she had done this months later. I opened up my inbox and it's like, here's what she said. I'm sorry I didn't send it to you sooner. Listen to the focus of this. She didn't say a million things. This was all she said. That's all. This is an 18-point type. That's it. About 15 things that were captured as phrases. But listen, everything was so good. We've got so many moments. I like how I'm handling this moment. I've had a lot of moments, and they're well done. Oh, That's so awesome, this moment. I'm just glad it all is. I do love all our moments. I like how you honored this moment. Amazing. We have a great connection here. Wow. 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 Right? We need to understand what the mystics have been telling us, what you yourself believe, what you yourself read, what we study together, and what I have studied my whole life. We have been told that we are divine and human, that we are souls embodied in form, and yet we still walk around afraid of our own shadow, afraid of change, afraid of something happening that can hurt us. And I'll tell you why it's nearly impossible to get these teachings through our head, because these teachings are not going to come through our head. We'll hear them and we'll try them, and tomorrow we'll wake up and go right back to being afraid. We'll take a class and we'll work on it, and then the next week we'll go back to being afraid. We'll forgive somebody, and then a month later we'll go back to not forgiving them again. We think, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't this stick? I need to be more serious. And that's not at all what we need to do. Happily ever after, happiness is going to be found where life is found. There's only one place we're going to find happiness, and we're going to find it in the one place we usually aren't. Where we usually are is in our head thinking instead of in the moment living. We're in our head figuring instead of being in the moment breathing. We're in our head worrying instead of being in the moment embodying. This moment is meant to be a felt experience that we embody. Why? Because every moment that is brought to us is hand-delivered by life itself. The Tao says the Tao will bring you to your own completion, your own fruition in every moment. God is bringing you this moment. And when you leave here, the next moment, and then the one after that. And all we're asked to do is not figure out the moment, how to fix it, how to force it to be different, or fantasize it being something else. We just need to be in the moment and let ourselves embody the flow of energy that is moving through us in this moment that God or life or Tao is bringing us. Why? Because it's bringing us this moment because we need to experience this moment. And to experience this moment, we simply need to be present in this moment. And to be present in this moment is not that hard to do once you decide you want to go where presence is going. Because what I said was, I want to go where you're going. But another way to hear that is, I want to go where God is going. I want to go where life is going. I want to go where energy is going. I want to go where health is going. I want to go where joy is going. I want to go where God is going. And the answer was, great. How about being right where you are and learning how to be present when the presence of life moves through you as every experience you are being given? And you know how we can do that? We can do that because we know if we turn our eyes to where the light is coming from, if we turn our eyes the way Carol's body at the end turned her eyes, it was all she looked at. And she stared at where her help, where her source was coming from. Her own angelic soul was coaching her, loving her, carrying her, guiding her. Our own angelic soul that every one of us has access to is here in the present moment. And we can feel it when we're in the present moment. We can access it when we're in the present moment. And why is the present moment important? Because here's a woman who was on Broadway singing for 20 years. She's a singer in Evita and in Dreamgirls. I mean, she just had that Broadway dream. She was a showgirl. She had the love of her life. She then went on to another career. She was beautiful. She had everything she wanted, all the tools, everything she ever wanted. And what did she talk about at the end? She did not talk about any of her things. We don't talk about our things. We don't talk about our worries. We don't talk about our problems. We don't talk about our issues. Why? Because when finally we are so in the present moment connected to the greatness of who we always are in each moment that we can feel when we're in the moment, all that becomes important is the moment. The moment is the treasure. The moment is the aliveness. The moment is the happiness. So you could be in a moment that scares the pants off of your old self, but you would be able to hold it when you were in the present moment, letting the presence of life that we are move through us in concert with our human self. It's time we understand that being present in the moment means we got to bring our whole self to the moment and not stop stopping until we can feel the presence moving through us. That's what Buddha meant. We've got to stop because we are running in circles trying to fix our life that's not broken, fix the world that's not broken, fix ourselves that's not broken. Can we stand still, as Moses asked the Israelites when they were surrounded by their enemies and confronted by the Red Sea? He said, stand still. Buddha said, stop. We've got to stop often during the day so that we can be where our feet are, so we can use our breath as a bridge to come home to our body, so we can finally feel the moment. When we do any kind of work on forgiveness, on love, on whatever you want to do, and you do it from the embodiment of the moment, it's done. You don't have to make yourself do anything. You have to be in the moment and allow the moment to be fully embodied through you, because that's what's being asked of us. Be here now entirely. This beautiful energy of life said, and we can live happily ever after. Not with pictures of Carol in her former form, because that's past. We can live in the present moment with the excruciating joy that is available to us in every single moment. Happily ever after begins now. But be here now so you can experience that unique liberation of happiness that comes from aliveness, moment to moment, actually. Enough said.